So he warned me he was going over because he figured everyone would be sleeping. Does anyone have questions or anything for Keith? Don't prove him right. He said there'd be no questions. Wait, hold on. We need the microphone. No, because the people online. Sorry, up here in the front.
What was Barrett's response?
The question was, what was Barrett's response? And I don't remember the exact word, to be honest with you, but he said that he was touched, and that was it. He's a man of few words sometimes. But this is the link. I know I threw a whole bunch of shit out there, and I just threw it up against the wall. But this was the longest blog post I ever wrote, and Rajam is kind enough to give me permission to post it on her site. And it's all hyperlinked. Every author, everything I talked about, it's an opportunity for other people to investigate some of the things that I've investigated over the last few years, maybe pique someone's interest. But again, you can find all the references and the links to people's Twitter accounts and different books. It's all in there, different articles, etc.
Okay, so we have Joe in the back, and then there's one up here when she's done.
I don't have a question. I just wanted to thank you for your bravery and for bringing the whole of you to this. It was beautiful.
Thank you, Joe.
I second that, Keith. Thank you. And could you maybe reflect on one noticeable way that your practice has changed when you're sitting in a room with a patient across from another person, from all the things that you've read, whether you feel like you've arrived or not?
Tim hit on this really, really well. I was talking to Richard, asked a question at the end of Tim's talk, and I was smiling as he asked, well, how do you put all this stuff into what kind of a model? Is there something out there? And Tim's response was, you know what, I'm just reflective. And then I was grinning huge when you're like, I spent whatever 4 years, I think you said, auditing, your own patients, and I kind of did the same. I would re-listen to conversations that I had with patients, and I would really concentrate on my posturing, really just trying to be present as much as I possibly could, knowing knowing how little I know, I guess is what it came down to. Knowing what some of the data tells us and following it in that direction to, as in the class that I taught about, just not trying to be that asshole by accident, because we're all trying to help, but really making sure that I tuned into, again, what was possible. And it all kind of even tied in with a lot of Barrett's neuroses as well, as far as his detail. And his is much more analytical than mine was when I would engage and talk with him. But it's just that it's about the person. And I got an argument, not an argument, it was a healthy conversation. Because he's an awesome guy, and argument is not a fair word. But I was talking with Steve Camper in Chicago at Sarah's, and I really don't like biopsychosocial, and because I think in many people's, and I know it's not what the actual researchers say, and they're thinking of in a bigger picture. But I think when it gets in the hands of clinicians, I think it just becomes an itemized checklist. And that's, if I were to take it, and this is a meandering answer, but I think that is probably the biggest take home for me, is that to try to pull back and have that wide angle view and not just try to itemize this person's BPS and go from there.
Anything online or anyone else? Nothing online?
So what are you going to read tomorrow?
I miss you, Richard. I'm sorry?
What are you going to read tomorrow?
Tomorrow I'm reading a science fiction book on the way home. Straight fiction.